Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to 399. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through a little mission editing that I do. So I'm setting up an A-10 mission to fly out of Rio Gallegos Airport on the South Atlantic map by Razbam. What I want is a couple of A-10s to fly out of Rio Gallegos, and I want them to fly westbound to scan this ravine mountainous terrain area for any enemies. And what I did was I set up a couple of targets right here that's leaving this harbor city, and they're gonna drive on this road right here with the red line. So this is their path. They're gonna take this road and then they're gonna go all the way up to a ballistic missile launch. So this convoy down here at this harbor city is going to be bringing this ballistic missile launcher some supplies that it needs right here. So it is a SCUD-B missile system. So this SCUD-B missile system right here is waiting on supplies from the convoy, and it's armed with some T-90 tanks and some anti-air, and also we have a SAM site as well with a couple more tanks that we have to take out. So that is the mission of the A-10s. So what I do whenever I first get started is I want to select a specific area. So I want these guys to be flying through this little ravine area and just scanning and looking for targets that they can take out. So what I did was I found an airport, and the A-10 goes kind of slow. It maxes out at like 350 knots. You don't want the AO to be too far, so what I usually do is I hold down the middle wheel button, and you can see that it brings up a distance and angle measurement tool. So you can use this tool to figure out how far away from the airport your aircraft are going to be flying. So it's just a good tool to have, especially when building missions, just to remember that you have that tool, because you want to space it accordingly. You don't want to make it too far away. Like, you don't want to be making the A-10s have to fly 500 miles away. You never get there, and it would be super boring, and nothing would be happening unless you set targets up along the way, of course. But for this, we just want these guys to fly southwest, then come up northwest, and scan this ravine area for enemy activity. So what I do is I find an airport. So this one was pretty good. I click on it. I set this to blue, so that way we can rearm and reload. We can always come back to this airport. I put down a couple F-15Cs right here, and these are set to AI, so these guys are going to take off. They're going to exit west out of Rio Gallegos, so they're going to be coming this way. So they're going to go northwest to waypoint 4, then they're going to turn left at 25,000 feet. So you can see at 3 it's only set to 7,000 because they're just now taking off. But I come over here to waypoint 4, I click on waypoint 4, and then you can set the altitude. So I want them to actually fly upwards of 25,000 feet, and they have 60 nautical miles to do that. And then I want them to stay at 25,000 feet and just pull cap and just search in this area for enemy fighters. So basically this is our fighter escort that's going to be clearing the airspace before the A-10s. So the A-10s will be hot and ready whenever I hop in, and the F-15s will be starting up and escorting before we take off. So they're gonna come down this way at 270 knots. They're gonna take off at 270 knots, and they're gonna hit waypoint 4 at 270 knots. So they're not gonna be that far in front of us. They're just gonna be up pretty high, clearing the airspace and just making sure that nothing goes wrong. So they're gonna hold 25,000 waypoint 4, 25,000 at waypoint 5, at 270, waypoint 6, and so on. And then they're going to come down here, and then they're going to take a left-hand turn that's going to take them northeast towards this airport. And once they get to this airport, I want them to just search on waypoint 10. You can see it here. They're still going to be pulling cap, and then they're going to search and engage in this zone. So what I did was hit add, start en route task, search and engage in this zone. So this little command right here that I have is this. I just changed the zone of this so you guys can see this highlighted circle. This small orange circle is the original range. So if you want them to stay in that tight of an area, that's where they'll stay, and they'll search in this zone. But they won't really do anything a whole lot. So I wanted them to search in this area, this outer ring, for any enemy fighters that may be popping up. So they're going to be flying around until they run out of R2B on bingo fuel, R2B on out of ammo, and search and engage in that zone. So they already have that set up. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I already have this big one. And then when they're all done over here, they're going to RTB back to Rio Gallegos Airport to land. Go add here, so waypoint 11, Rio Gallegos, and we're gonna hit landing. Okay, so that way when we're here, we put 11 on top of Rio Gallegos, we go to type, and we click on landing. So that way those guys, after they're done searching in this area, and if they hit bingo fuel, or they're running low on ammo, or they don't have any more ammo, they fly back to Rio Gallegos and land. Alright, so after the F-15s, I set up the A-10s. Now the A-10s are friendlies, and if you want to be able to fly your A-10, you want to select client. Alright, so client is important. That will make it so that way you can fly that aircraft, and that's really important. And then I set a couple waypoints for these guys. As you can see, I have my first one over here with this convoy. So number 1 is coming to this convoy, and it's set to 85 feet. So if you want the first steer point to be on the ground, you have to make this 0. Hit 0 and hit enter, and that's all you have to do. So when you enter 0, it's going to put it at 85 feet because that's how high it is right there. Alright, so that's steer point 1 for the A-10s. We have steer point 2 just to look in this area, 387 feet. Number 3, we're looking in these harbors for different things. And then finally we have number 4. So number 4 is going to be smack dab on these targets, and in fact we're going to put it smack dab on top of that SCUD missile, because that's what we're trying to take out, because this SCUD missile system is trying to shoot a SCUD missile at Rio Gallegos. Range, so about 300 kilometers, divide that by 2 would be miles, and you get about 150 miles out of this. It's going to be missile. Payload 985 kilograms, accuracy within 450 meters. So within about 225 feet. Okay, so the SCUD missile can hit about 150 miles away. So what we want to do now is we want to actually measure from the SCUD missiles. So you hold down your wheel button, bring it over here to Rio Gallegos, our airport, and it looks like it's about 144 miles. So we have enough distance from the SCUD missile to our airport. So we have enough range for these missiles to shoot at us, but they have a problem. So that problem is they don't actually have the right equipment to launch it yet. So in this convoy, there is a command vehicle that is able to launch those Scud missiles. So this convoy is very, very vital that we take this convoy down. Now, our F-15s, after they take off, they're going to be flying through this little trigger zone right here, and I named this Scud missile trigger. These enemies are set to late activation. Alright, so once our F-15s fly through waypoint 7, these guys are actually going to pop up and we're going to be able to see them. So this is a trigger for these guys to be activated. So if you guys want to know how to do that, you click on trigger, you make a new trigger, you set it over a waypoint, so whenever a vehicle flies through here and then flies out of it, if it breaks this barrier right here, this trigger will be activated. So that's my Scud missile trigger. So when the aircraft flies through here, these will turn on. So late activation means that they are off until this trigger has been tripped. Let's delete that. Okay, cool. So once the F-15s fly through waypoint 7, that will activate. They will spot these targets down here in this valley. And then we will have a message pop up saying, hey, we have a Scud missile launch area for you guys. It's now active on your radar. So to activate that, what you need is a trigger. So you come over here, your rules for trigger selection, and then you're going to click on once. So it's originally going to say once. You can make it a switch or repetitive action. This is just a simple once trigger, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I always like to name this whatever this is doing. So I named it SCUD AO activate. So once the coalition flies into that trigger, so once the blue coalition flies into that trigger, it will then set off group activate, and that group activate will be SCUD missile AO1. So that's what this group has been named, SCUD missile AO1. So friendlies will fly from Rio Gallegos, go through 5 and 6 waypoint, go through waypoints 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and they'll make their way down south. But once they fly through 7, it will activate this group, and this message will pop up for all blue friendly forces. So message to coalition is what you want to select there. You want to select blue, and then SCUD missiles have been located and are now active on radar. Eliminate at your discretion. So this will be up for a total of 20 seconds. I also like to throw in a little bit of a like a sound to it, so that way whenever you hear the sound, you know that there's a message if you're looking down at something else. So sound to coalition, blue. Let's go ahead and hit open. Radio static, let's go ahead and play that. Yep, that sounds good. Okay. So once we hear that sound, this message will be up above us and we can check it out and see what it says. And then we will know that these are now on our radar. And so we can go to the F10 map and see these targets on our map as well. So we can be able to see how far along these guys are and at what time they're going to be getting there. So this, I like to set the speed at 200. I know that they can't go 200 knots. But once I have that set at 200 knots, it'll set the speed at maximum speed for all of these vehicles. So let's click on this one. That one's going 23 knots, that one's going 23 knots, and that one's going to 23 knots. So all of these vehicles will be going 23 knots to their waypoint, which is the SCUD missile waypoint. All the way up here. That's going to take them a long time. I might have to shift these down a little bit, but we're just gonna roll with it. We're gonna see how it plays out, and yeah, and give you guys a mission, a Warthog Wednesday mission. All right, let's just hop into it and see what we got. So here we go. We have our F-15s. They're getting started up. They're getting ready to take off. So those are the two F-15s. They're going to come down here. They're going to make contact with this SU-27 first. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to clear this airspace. So they are currently climbing to 25,000 feet. Looks like they're getting there. Let's click on them. They're climbing to 19,000 feet, and they are currently, let's get our measurement tool. So this is our measurement tool button in live. So that's a right click on the mouse. So they're 53 miles away from this SU-27. The SU-27's at 7,000 feet. Looks like he just shot a missile. So he just merged. So these F-15s are now in the dogfight. So now the F-15s are turning back around. So it looks like these F-15s are turning back around and go to their correct steer point. They are going to be going back to steer point 2 over here, and then they're going to fly around, and they're going to activate this SCUD missile zone over here. So this is our convoy. Our convoy is active and it is traveling. Let's click on this and hit F7. Trucks and MLRS, 2 MLRSs, and that's the command center right there with the tanks. We got the 255. That looks pretty good, except for the SU-27 not having any missiles. So let's go back to the editor. Find that SU-27. I believe it's this one. Yep, no late activation. Let's give this guy some missiles. There we go. He has a little bit of defense. Perfect. Okay, so these must be triggers. Late activation, late activation, late activation. So this is a template that I made with late activation Sukhois, but I didn't set up the triggers for it. I only have this one trigger set up for it. And in fact, if I didn't want this guy to pop up at all, I could always set him for late activation, and he'll activate whenever I request him to. But for now, I'm just going to set this to no fighters in the air. Actually, what we might be able to do is set up this fighter to activate. So this is Aerial 5. Let's name him SU-27, activate. I'll show you guys how to set this up. SU-27 activate. Okay, he's at 9,000 feet. Let's go ahead and add a waypoint. So let's make him go this way and then into this area to provide cap. So let's make sure he's got cap set. Also on 1. So 1 cap. Yeah, so this guy is all set up and he's ready to go. Actually, we can start him out on the ground. So let's start him out on the ground. So he's going to scramble, and then he's going to climb and maintain 15,000 at waypoint 1. So he's going to go to 15,000 from Punta Arenas Airport up to waypoint 1, and then northwest to provide cap for this area. So this guy is the scrambler jet for these ground forces. Now we want to set that guy up. So once this trigger has been activated, the SCUD missile trigger, so we want this still to be true. We want these guys to fly through the SCUD missile trigger, and then the group's going to activate SCUD missile 1, and then we're also going to clone that and then make this our SU-27 activate. So now once that trigger is set, so once we go through that trigger, group SCUD missile AO will activate and group activate SU-27. So both of these are going to activate. So basically these F-15s will then fly through here. These will pop up on our radar, on our map, and then this SU-27 down here will scramble from this airport and then fly towards the ground forces that he has set up. So I'm actually going to just delete these. I don't need these up. So this is our A-10 mission. Once we start up in our A-10s, we will then fly southwest. We will destroy the convoy before it reaches the SCUD AO area. So we don't know where this area is until this trigger is set, but that's our mission. So this is our waypoint 1, destroy these targets, and then fly towards waypoint 2 for destroying any targets in this area, if there are any, and then waypoint 3, clear this area, do some recon, make sure we don't have any units in this area, and then fly towards 4 and check that area and destroy those targets on the ground. Alright guys, if you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to be flying this mission and putting the video on YouTube in a couple of days. If you learned something new, please like this video. If you want to see me fly this mission, please subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.